What's up, friends? Today we're going to be taking a look at a pretty neat piece of clothing, and that is the XBoard armored jacket. This thing has a lot of cool features and great protection for your riding, so let's jump into the details. Alright, so what exactly is the XBoard armored jacket? Well, it's a fairly heavily armored piece of protective clothing that has a lot of cool features to it, starting off with the CE approved level 1 pads that are in the elbows, the shoulders, and on the back. I personally don't ride with the back pad on because I wear a backpack, but this is what it looks like. It's pretty flexible, not too uncomfortable to wear. Has that CE branding on there for the approval. Another cool feature that the XBoard jacket has is the 270 GSM kevlar throughout the entire thing. It's quite a bit higher than the kevlar that's in some other companies' jackets, and I definitely feel safe with all that kevlar in there. Another thing that it features is high quality YKK zippers. Now, if you do a little research on YKK, you'll find out that these are self-lubricating zippers, and over time, they won't get stiff on you like cheap, crappy zippers will. They're really smooth and satisfying to zip. Along with that sturdiness, you also get a soft, windproof, and water-resistant shell to cap it all off. The next thing you might ask is, how is it to actually wear the jacket? Well, short and simple, it's pretty nice. Personally, I don't really think you should wear it with a short sleeve shirt, but if you do wear it with a short sleeve shirt, it's not too uncomfortable, but you definitely will feel that mesh texture up against your skin. And some people might like that, some people might not. I wear my armored shirt without, or with short sleeves all the time. It's not too big of an issue, but for this jacket that's a little bit tighter and has a little bit thicker insulation, you might feel it a little bit more. When you're wearing a long sleeve shirt, this jacket is super comfortable and it's really easy to use. As soon as you put it on, the bulkiness that you feel while you're sliding it on kind of goes away, and it just feels like basically a snow jacket. For me, I'm not sure if this would have quite enough insulation to wear in the snow, so I might put on a layer or two underneath, but that Kevlar in there really does make it quite a bit warmer. Now, overall, the jacket wearing experience here is pretty nice. It's not going to be as comfortable as a flannel or something thinner, but you also are not going to have this thick Kevlar or these pads in a flannel like that. So you kind of have to think about the trade-offs here. And I honestly can say that I don't think I own anything else that can do the job that this fulfills nearly as well as this can. I mentioned that this jacket might not necessarily be warm enough to wear on its own for skiing, but it really is quite warm. Honestly, I can't even imagine wearing this in weather much above 65 degrees Fahrenheit. I think I would just get way too hot, and it's really just not made for that. So this is definitely going to be a wintertime jacket in my opinion, or a cold morning, cold night kind of thing. Personally, I've worn this on many rides now, and when I ride to work in the morning, I will definitely put it on because it's often dewy and cold out, and this jacket does a really good job of blocking all of that out. Now, not only is this jacket warm, it has really good wind stopping abilities. You might even think of this as a windbreaker with extra insulation. This really does not let any wind through at all, and on rides where it's a little warm, that's not necessarily the best thing, but that's why you have the other jackets. So for the rides where it's going to be cold, where you're going to have a lot of wind chill, where maybe it's drizzling a little bit, or maybe it's dewy out, this is definitely a great option, and it will definitely keep you warm enough on days all the way down to, I would say the coldest I've worn this in is about 40 degrees, and I was just fine riding on my board, stayed nice and warm, and the only thing that was cold was the top of my neck and a little bit of my face from the air coming through my full face helmet. So, why exactly should you care about the XBoard armored jacket? Well, you might say, why should you care about helmet, or why should you care about knee pads or elbow pads or anything like that? Really, anything like this is in the name of the game to keep you safe when you fall off your board. A lot of people like to ride with this attitude that they're never going to fall off, they're never going to be defeated, they're never going to get hurt, but ultimately a lot of these people do. And for me, it's just really not worth the risk of getting scraped up again, because there was a time when I didn't wear a protective jacket either, and I have the scars to show that. Now, it's kind of funny, on a group ride just last weekend, there were people commenting on how great the jacket looked and asking if it had padding in it and stuff. And I was like, yeah, of course. It's got elbow pads, it's got shoulder pads, and it's got a back pad, but I'm not wearing it. And funnily enough, right where these elbow pads are, 2 people showed me a giant scrape right along their elbow. And I've had one too, so, you know, after it happens to you one time, you'll definitely think a little bit more about donning some protective gear. Now, obviously, this jacket is not the solution for every weather, and I definitely only wear it on the colder days, but I have my other jacket to wear on the warmer days, and if I really don't want to wear it, I just have to keep in mind that I'm taking a little bit of a risk that I might end up with another one of those giant scars if I take a tumble. Now, hopefully you guys found these couple bits of information interesting, and we're going to go into some riding footage right now, and I'll do a little bit of voiceover. It is time for a little bit of riding footage. I'm just going to talk about the jacket a little bit and some things that I've noticed while wearing it. First up, the warmth. This thing seriously is warm. Before I got this jacket in the wintertime, I used to always carry my windbreaker with me in my skate bag, just in case it rained or in case the wind chill became too much. Fortunately, this jacket solves both of those issues. The thing that surprised me most when I first started wearing it is just how much wind it blocks. The XBoard armored shirt is very different. It lets a lot of the air through, which is good because it's designed for warmer days. However, with the XBoard armored jacket, or winter jacket, whatever you want to call it, almost zero air gets through. And this is perfect for misty mornings when I ride to work or for when I return and it's getting dark and cold. On the other hand, since the jacket is so bulky, you can't really change your mind partway through and take it off to put it in your backpack. So you kind of have to decide at the beginning of the ride. I've pretty much just brought both of my jackets to the rides that I go on and decide which one I'll wear when I arrive. There's only been a couple of rides that I went on recently where I didn't wear a jacket, but that was purely because it was just too warm. There's a couple of reasons why I would pick the XBoard armored jacket over something else on the shelf. And the first one is just because it's designed for falling. If I fall for some weird reason, I don't have to worry about my upper clothing getting torn up because of the fall. This shirt is definitely going to be able to stand up to sliding or whatever I might experience, and I won't have to worry about my nice clothing getting ruined. Second, it's comfortable. I just like wearing it, so honestly, I can't think of another jacket that I would rather wear unless it's going to offer me a much cooler experience. Now, since this is just an armored clothing review, I don't see a huge need for this to be overly long, so I'm just going to go ahead and stuff some extra information into the RBEM score. So we're going to go into that now, and hopefully you guys will get all the information you need as we go and rate this jacket. Our first category is comfort, and honestly this jacket is quite nice. Most of the time I don't think you'll necessarily be wearing this with a short sleeve shirt, but if you do, it's still decent overall. The mesh can be a little bit rough at times, but as time goes on you kind of get used to it and it's really not that big of a deal. If you have a long sleeve shirt on, no problem at all. Now, with the heavy Kevlar padding in here, the jacket does feel a little bit bulky, but you get used to it and it's definitely not too bad, not much more than a heavy jacket in the first place. I really do enjoy wearing this, but there are a couple of qualms that I have with it, and one of those is the elastic bands around the wrists. I've never really been a huge fan of elastic around wrists or around ankles on any piece of clothing, and this is unfortunately no different. I get what he's going for here, but it prevents me from wearing my smartwatch while I ride because it gets too tight. And that's just kind of annoying, because I do like to glance at a message or two at stoplights and things like that. So Not a big fan of this elastic. I guess it's just a design choice, but that's not really a good one for me. Another one is that I think this might still break in a little bit, and sorry if I bumped the mic a little bit here, but when you zip this all the way up, let me just do that. The collar does get quite tight, and this is pretty common on snow jackets and stuff like that. But for this one, since there's Kevlar, it gets a little bit stiff, and when I have my full face helmet on, sorry again for the mic, when I have my full face helmet on, it does get caught on from time to time, and it can be a little bit annoying. But regardless, I still wear this jacket all the time, and I really enjoy it. So with these minor issues that probably aren't really gonna get fixed, I'm still gonna give it a 4.5 out of 5. Now, when I spend $150 on a piece of clothing, I really want it to be high quality. And honestly, the only thing that cost me $150 that I own is my suits and some expensive shoes. So I definitely want it to be high quality. The XBoard jacket, fortunately, fully delivers on this desire. This jacket has some of the nicest stitching, best quality material that I've ever seen in a jacket, and it honestly rivals things like Columbia or Patagonia or something like that. It's just really nice. Even with this Kevlar integrated in here, there's not a single little bit of fraying or Kevlar bit sticking through. There's not even like a missed seam anywhere. So whatever factory is making these, really great job to XBoard for picking a great one. And I really couldn't ask much more for the quality of this jacket. Maybe some cosmetic things aren't necessarily my favorite thing, but that has nothing to do with the quality. Everything on here is great, and it definitely deserves a 5 out of 5. The impact protection on this armored jacket is the same as on the armored shirt, and that is CE approved level 1. These pads do feel quite nice, and I'm very confident that I would definitely have less bruising if I were to fall with these pads than if I weren't. And it feels like the extra Kevlar and insulation on here does give it a little bit more impact resistance than the armored shirt, but overall, there are other jackets out there that have level 2 pads and might have a little bit more insulation in those areas, but you know, it's pretty decent. And I gave the armored shirt a 5 out of 5, so I should give this a 5 out of 5, but I'm also kind of thinking both of them should get knocked down a notch. For now, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5, and we'll think about it in the future. One other thing to note about the impact protection is that all these pads are actually adjustable, so they have up to 1 inch of adjustment up and down in the sides, and the shoulders have some adjustment, and the back one has some adjustment as well. That's super nice because right when you put this jacket on, the pad isn't always going to line up perfectly with your elbow, but as soon as you move it around, it locks into place and you're good for the rest of your ride. So anyway, we might revisit that impact rating in the future if I get some level 2 padded jackets, but we'll see. For now, it's 5 out of 5. Slide protection is absolutely excellent on this jacket. This particular jacket has GSM 270 rated Kevlar in the actual weaves. And what that really means is the GSM is the weight of the weave of the fibers. So 270 means that it's a much higher Kevlar weave, or much higher weight Kevlar weave than some of the competition. Some of the competition is as low as 170, and some of it isn't even listed. For this jacket, you've got 270 GSM versus the shirt, which is only 250 GSM. I would fully expect you to be completely abrasion resistant on lower speed crashes. If you slide for far enough, maybe it'll get through, but Kevlar is some really tough stuff, and I definitely give this a super high rating of 4.5 out of 5. Unfortunately, with the addition of thicker Kevlar, heavier weight Kevlar, more insulation, and this extra outer layer, you do lose a little bit of maneuverability, when you compare this to the normal shirt. So I definitely am not going to be taking this out to do my mountain board tricks unless it's really cold, because man, those really warm you up. But with all this extra insulation, you lose a little bit of maneuverability, and it's fine. Like, don't get me wrong, I can still do what I need to do and get around just fine. And when you're standing almost still while you're riding, you don't notice it that much. But when you're zipped up and in this jacket fully, it's like wearing a ski jacket, right? It's tight, it's insulated, and you know, it's to be expected. So with a bulky jacket like this, comparing it to the shirt or comparing it to normal clothing, I'm gonna have to give it a 6 out of 10 on the maneuverability. Still very comfortable, but you know, it's just how it is. On this armored jacket, the visibility is somewhat important since this is a black jacket, and black jackets tend to vanish into the night if you don't have anything to reflect off of. Now, fortunately for us, this jacket does have a good bit of reflective strips on it. It's got them up and down the zippers, around the shoulders, on top of the shoulders, down the middle of the hood, and it's got some on the pockets and the sides of the jacket. However, there are some things that are omitted when you compare it to the armored shirt. I found this a little bit interesting since this is a less visible kind of piece of clothing, but this jacket doesn't have any around the wrists, it doesn't have any around the bottom edge of the jacket, and I can't remember if there's any other spots, but I just maybe would like to see some more of that added back on a revision 2, if that's ever coming in the future. But overall, it's still decent. These strips are very good at reflecting light, especially light that's far away. That's why you don't really see much reflection on them right now, because the light is too close to it, but also some B-roll of the reflectivity acting properly. Anyways, overall it's decent, but it's less than the armored shirt, so it's gonna have to get a 7 out of 10. Style is really subjective, but this jacket really hits a home run with this one, at least for me. I think this jacket looks awesome, and honestly, I am looking forward to trying to wear this as a ski jacket just because it's really cool. Now, most of the people that see this jacket find it really cool. They comment on it and say, wow, that jacket's really cool. Where's that from? XBoard. But, you know, it's a heavy duty, functional piece of clothing, so those don't always look good. Fortunately, this one does. So for me, I really do like this jacket a lot, and I definitely wear it whenever I can, when the weather permits. So for me, this is gonna get a 4.5 out of 5. Like I mentioned in the armored shirt review, price is kind of weird when it comes to protective clothing because it's hard to put a price on preventative measures. But for me, this jacket is a really good deal. You can pick this up for just $150 right now with the XBoard sale, and you can take another $12 off that if you use my code, which is RBEM, and that'll bring that down to $150, which basically gives you free shipping within the US. Now, I don't know exactly what everyone's budget is for protective clothing, but I think that's a super good deal. So if you're looking for a winter jacket that you want to wear while you're riding your board in the rain or in the snow, this is definitely a great option, and I suggest you pick it up for that extremely competitive price. For this great price, it's going to get a 4.5 out of 5, as it beats a lot of the competition, especially with its features. Bringing all of these scores together, it comes out to a total composite RBEM score of 41 out of 50. Now, you might look at this and think, wait a second, isn't that really close to the score for the armored shirt? Yeah, it is. And in fact, it's actually just 1 point lower. And you can look at all the different categories on the screen here, but you can see where some of them differed a little bit, and it just so happened that they came out pretty close. Honestly, both of these jackets are great, and I'm going to continue wearing both of them for the things that I use them for. This will be my cold weather jacket, or wind chill jacket, and the other one will be my late summer fall jacket, or if I'm going on my mountain board, I pretty much have to wear that one because I just get so hot doing all the tricks and all of that. But anyways, both of them are great options, and it'll be really interesting for me in the future to compare these to other armored clothing. Will this other armored clothing have better protection? Will it have worse slide protection? Maybe it'll have better impact protection. Who knows? There's a couple other companies out there. Lazy Rolling and Beyond Riders are two that come to mind off the top of my head. And I'd love to get my hands on some of the protective gear from them. So if anyone wants me to take a look at that, let me know, and maybe I'll try and get in contact with them about doing some reviews on the channel. Now, honestly, for me, any kind of protective gear that you can wear to keep yourself from ending up in news headlines is awesome. As e-skaters and small electric vehicle riders, we get enough flack as it is. So if we're seen to be responsible, protecting ourselves and protecting others, it definitely gives us a great image. So for me, wear your protective gear. That's all I'm going to say to that. Just a couple closing thoughts here and add a little bit of disclosure. Both of these jackets, the armored jacket and the armored shirt, were sent to me for free by XBoard for the purpose of review. However, I was not paid to make these reviews, and I don't really feel like they clouded my judgment at all. I do really like both of these jackets, and I'm going to keep wearing them. They're awesome pieces of protective clothing, and like I said, anything you can do to protect yourself is going to be great. Now, I am an affiliate of XBoard, so if you use my link in the description, I'll get a little bit of a commission, which would be pretty awesome. But mostly, you'll get a discount, and it really doesn't take much effort to put in a 4-digit code. Anyways, any other notes that I have about this jacket, I guess, would be it's got a couple of pockets. I didn't mention that before, but there's pockets on the inside, which is useful to store small things. I definitely mentioned earlier that the padding is adjustable in the elbows and on the shoulders and on the back. It's super useful, especially when you put it on and it's slid all the way down, so you can just pop it up there. Other than that, I'm just going to reiterate, I really love how this jacket looked. When I first opened it up from the package at XBoard, put it on, I was like, wow, that's a good looking protective jacket. And it might sound like I'm shilling, but honestly, I just like black jackets and I didn't have one yet, so I was pretty excited for it. Anyways, as always, if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below and I'll make sure to answer all of them. But besides that, stay safe, keep on riding, and peace out.